It sounded like the worst nightmare imaginable. Two young college kids come home from the movies to find their wealthy parents brutally executed in their Beverly Hills mansion. They were crying, they were hysterical, they were acting. For 36 years, the world has been divided. Half of you think Lyle and Eric Menendez are cold-blooded sociopaths who killed for Rolexes and Porsches. The other half believes they are victims who snapped after a lifetime of unspeakable abuse. But here is the twist that nobody saw coming. After the Netflix documentaries, the TikTok movements, and the massive public outcry, we finally got an answer this year. In May 2025, they were sentenced 3. In August 2025, they faced the parole board. And what happened just a few months ago changed everything. Buckle up. Today we are doing the deep dive into the Menendez brothers, from the night of the murders to the shocking 2025 verdict that sealed their fate. This is the American tragedy. To understand why this happened, you have to understand who they were. The Menendez family was the definition of the American dream. Jose Menendez came from Cuba with nothing and became a Hollywood CEO powerhouse. Kitty Menendez was the beauty queen trophy wife. And then there were the boys. Lyle and Eric on the outside? Perfect. Lyle was the star athlete attending Princeton. Eric was a ranked tennis player. They lived in a $5 million mansion on Elm Drive. But inside that house, it was a war zone. Jose was described as a tyrant, a man who obsessed over perfection. If the boys didn't win a tennis match, it was World War III, but later the boys would claim it was much darker than just pressure. They claimed that behind closed doors, their father was a monster who had been abusing them for years. But in August 1989, nobody knew that yet. All the neighbors saw were two rich kids who seemed to have it all. Until the money wasn't enough. Around 8 p.m., Lyle and Eric leave the house. They tell their parents they are going to the movies. Fun fact, they wanted to see the new Batman movie, but it was sold out. So, they bought tickets to the James Bond film License to Kill instead. But they didn't watch the movie. At 10 p.m., they drive back to Elm Drive. They park. They walk into the house carrying two Mossberg 12-gauge shotguns they had bought days earlier using fake IDs. Jose and Kitty are sitting in the den, eating ice cream and watching TV. The boys burst in. They don't say a word. Jose was shot point blank in the back of the head. He died instantly. But Kitty, she tried to run. She was shot in the leg, slipped on her own blood, and was then shot multiple times in the face and chest to ensure she was unrecognizable. The boys then did something chilling. They picked up the shell casings to hide evidence, but they missed one. Then they left the bodies there, got in their car, and threw the guns into a canyon on Mulholland Drive. Then they went to the movies for real this time to buy tickets for an alibi. When they returned home at 11:47 p.m., Lyle called 911. Now, if you accidentally killed your parents in self-defense because you were terrified, how would you act? Would you cry? Hide? Lyle and Eric Menendez went shopping. In the 6 months after the murders, these two grieving orphans spent over $700. That is about $1.5 million today. Lyle bought a $64,000 Porsche Carrera. Eric hired a tennis coach for $60,000 a year. Lyle bought a restaurant called Mr. Buffalo's. Both bought matching Rolex watches, $15,000 just days after the funeral. They were living like kings. Lyle even started wearing his dead father's suits and shoes. To the police, this didn't look like trauma. This looked like greed. They had killed the king and queen to take the crown. But the police didn't have a smoking gun. They needed a confession, and they got one. From the most unlikely place entered Dr. Jerome Oziel. He was the brothers' therapist. Eric, racked with guilt, confessed to him. Oziel was terrified of them, so he recorded their sessions. But here is the drama. Oziel had a mistress named Judalon Smythe. When Oziel tried to break up with her, she went straight to the police and said, "I know who killed the Menendez parents." In March 1990, the police raided the house. Lyle was arrested. Eric flew home from a tennis tournament in Israel and surrendered. The Perfect Sons were in chains, and the trial that followed would change television forever. 1993. The first trial. It was broadcast on court TV, and the world was glued to it. This is where the abuse defense came out. The brothers testified in graphic detail about what their father did to them. It was shocking. It was uncomfortable. And it worked. The jury was deadlocked. They couldn't decide if it was murder, greed, or manslaughter, fear, mystical, host. But in 1995, the second trial happened. And the judge? He wasn't playing games. He banned cameras. He blocked most of the abuse evidence. He essentially told the jury, I don't care why they did it. I only care that they did it. Result? Guilty. First-degree murder. Life in prison without parole. The door slammed shut. Fast forward to the 2020s. A new generation on TikTok discovers the case. They see the abuse evidence that was hidden. Then, a former member of the boy band Menendez comes forward and says, Jose Menendez abused him too. Suddenly, the world is screaming, free them! And this brings us to right now, the year 2025. In May 2025, a judge finally agreed to resentence them. They changed the sentence to 50 years to life, which meant they were immediately eligible for parole because they had already served 35 years. It looked like they were coming home. But then came August 2025, the parole board hearing. Everyone expected a release. But the board said no. Why? Because despite the abuse, the board cited rule violations in prison and claimed the brothers still hadn't taken full accountability for the crime. They were denied parole and told to try again in 2028. So here we are, two men, now in their 50s, sitting in a cell in San Diego. To some of you, justice is being served. To others, this is a miscarriage of justice against abuse victims. But one thing is certain. The Menendez brothers bought tickets to see a movie that night in 1989, but they ended up starring in the darkest American tragedy of the century. What do you think? Did the parole board make the right call in August? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives. Stay safe.